So just to read those names out for you guys, these are your top 10 here. We have Catherine Pendrell, Emily Batty, Katarina Nash, your defending champion, Georgia Gould, Olympic bronze medalist, Leah Davison, your U.S. national champ, Michaela Kaufman, Aaron Huck, Sandra Walter, Evelyn Dong, riding on that Cannondale machine for Show Air Cannondale. Chloe Woodruff in there on the front row as well. Larry, strong group down there.
A strong group, and the last instruction I heard our official Jim Compton give him was inside of 2 minutes. So they tightened it up a little bit. They got him staged. It's a warm day, and you can see right there the attitude is go time, and our ladies are officially on course. And it looks like one of the Scott Three Rocks Raiders trying to make a move on the outside. But Colt, here they come into corner number 1, and it's already the Stars and Stripes at the front. Leah Davison going to lead them onto the pavement.
Leah Davison is just burning up this pavement right now. Everybody else goes to file in. We see that big group of Luna chicks here. Everybody's settling. Like we said, Larry, a long start shoot here, but very critical. You got to get in position as riders head out into the single track on lap 1.
There was a little bit of confusion at the start. Some people were thinking the ladies were going to race 6 laps today, but the final instruction from our UCI officials, 7 laps. So they're going to make them do the full distance here this morning. And we are anticipating lap times for these women probably about 15 minutes, something like that. It's a short World Cup style course. We saw some elite local amateurs, including the reigning junior world champion a few years ago. Well, actually last year, come through with 20-minute lapse time, but on a much more elongated course this morning, a couple miles longer, in fact. And it looks like as we see them start to single file it out, Leah Davis, well, we may be seeing a bit of a start loop here.
Yeah, so riders here coming through the start loop, and it is still Davison there in the lead, rocking those stars and stripes. It's great to see her out this time of year with Leah Davison. The last couple of years, she's battled a couple injuries. She hasn't been able to start her season until maybe mid-summer, so she's had to fight that tough winter up in New England, a rider coming out of Jericho, Vermont, but she is here, and she is on fire right now in California. But 7 laps, Larry, after they come across after the start lap. That is going to be a very long day on a course that last year saw this race blow to pieces in the elite women's field.
Well, speaking of battling adversity, we've got Chloe Woodruff, who looks like she's riding for a new team this year, Stands No Tubes and Niner Bikes. And Chloe, a U.S. teamer, a former U23 champion, she's moved herself up out of the second row and looking like she's ready to do battle here this afternoon. So Woodruff, Emily Batty tucked in. You can see it is a warm day. The girls are already going to their water bottles, trying to catch a little early hydration. And I think the name of the game today for many of these women who are truly ratcheting it up, this is for most of this field, the first time that they're going to race for 2015. Well, definitely a front group shaping up, and it looks like all 3 of our expected Luna riders are there. In fact, it's Luna, and Luna there, with Nash at the front right now, the reigning world champion Catherine Pendrell sitting second. It looks like Georgia Gould has clawed her way up there. Chloe Woodruff still pushing hard, and just a minute ago it looked to me like the rider who was trying to make that group was Leah Davison, but is there any better descender out there than Katarina Nash? Look at her flying through this little hard rock section.
Yeah, no, not on a hardtail there. I mean, some of those downhill women, you know, they do their crazy thing on their 10-inch travel bikes, but you put them on a hardtail, a short travel bike, in a cross-country race, and Katarina Nash, and when we saw her take a World Cup win, was it at Mount St. Anne just a couple of years ago, maybe the most technical World Cup track anywhere out there. So this rider, she knows how to do it. We've seen her at Downeyville have great success in years past, but Chloe Woodruff really impressing me right now in that top 5. She's had a frustrating couple of years here. She's had some great races. She's had some bad patches. I think she's really coming into 2015. She's fresh. She's healthy. She's ready for that career breakout season. She's had a few of them, but man, it would be great to see her put her name really at the top of that list as we go into 2016. It's not too soon to start talking about Olympic selection. A lot of these riders here with the UCI C1 points on the line, you know, they're all thinking about 2016, Rio down the line, and Chloe, one of the top young talents here in North America, trying to put her name into that hat. Who's ready to make those corners? Who's ready to descend with the likes of Katarina Nash? And I think those small gaps you're going to see open up as we see now back into things. So 5 riders here all together. Emily Batty trying to latch onto the back of that group, and then Georgia Gould, your Olympic bronze medalist from 2012. So 5 riders, Larry. The way I saw this race play out last year, if you remember, I think it was everybody attacked every single climb until they were totally split up. When by the end of the race, everybody was separated by about 10-second gaps. You would think maybe that it would suit a group racing atmosphere just because there's no 5 or 6 minute climb, but these short punchers are really deadly at opening up those small gaps.
Yeah, it's going to test their early season form, no doubt about it. Larry Longo along with Colton McElwain, as we are probably right about halfway through lap number 1. We heard that the men were doing hot laps and single hot laps in that 12 and a half minute region. So the ladies, you figure they're doing 7 laps. They've definitely got to settle themselves into a little bit of a rhythm out there and find their form. Obviously, the first race of the year, you know, maybe a little bit of nerves, maybe a little bit of adrenaline pumping. So we are going to see how this thing sorts itself out here shortly. But taking her spot at the front of the state of affairs out there is the rider out of Kamloops, British Columbia, now a 2-time world champion, a couple of time World Cup overall winner as well, Catherine Pendrell. And it looks like she's done that hard, brutally hard winter in her basement on her turbo trainer, which she's renowned for, because she is setting the pace. In our group of 5 is still a group of 5, and we'll unconfirmed rider who is dangling off the back right now, but has done a valiant effort just to get up to that lead group. Is the early pace has been a little bit faster than expected. These ladies showing some fine mid-season form as we look through our start list and try to figure out who that rider could be. It does not look like it's Leah Davison, I don't suspect. It looks like it's one of the Scott Three Rocks riders.
Yeah, that's probably either going to be Michaela Kaufman or maybe Leslie Patterson, like we said, riding her way from one of those back row spots all the way up into the start. My guess would be that that's going to be Kaufman, the Scott Three Rocks, the young rider out of Canada. She had a very strong start, and as a lot of these descents here, you have to give so much space to the rider in front of you that you might find yourself 5 or 6 seconds off the group. But as everybody spreads out to make their way down the hill, you can find yourself sort of that accordion effect as you ride your way back into the group.
You know, looking at the grass adjacent to the course, it's been deceptively dry here in all of the western United States this year. It's the 4th year of a drought. I mean, literally in Southern California, maybe an inch and a half, if that, of rain here this winter, which has absolutely been brutally dry. So aside from the green grass, everything is just brutally hard. It's dusty, it's dry. It's renowned for being one of the tougher race circuits out there because that hard pack underneath, and then you add that almost fine baby powder like dirt on top, and it makes things very, very slippery, very sketchy.
I think this is right coming into that A-line, B-line option as riders make their way down. We talked about them earlier, those very large railroad ties. So the fans here, everybody, you can't see them. They're behind the spectators there. But Georgia Gould going to go 1, 2, and 3. Everybody making it down clean. But you see the space that you have to give the rider in front of you. If you guys saw some of the course preview footage we shot, you saw just how treacherous those things are. And again, there is a B-line option. It's about maybe 20 seconds penalty for taking that B-line. So riders having to choose. But as they spread out like that, as you take the chance that some riders might not be able to ride it, cause a little bit of a bottleneck effect there, I think you might see a lot of the women choosing to take that B-line here on lap number 1. Everybody there taking a bottle as they go through the feed zone here on lap number 1. You already mentioned it. Hydration is going to be key. Now we cross the line here. Riders are going to get 6 laps to go, I believe. We got Georgia Gould, Katarina Nash, Batty there, Pendrell. A group of 6.
And how about Larissa Connors? We were thinking that was a Scott's Three Rocks rider, maybe Patterson, but Ride Biker Alliance is throwing down out there. And Larissa Connors, boy, oh boy, she has done her work this year. That is that unknown rider. Well, now we know who she is, riding up there with the lead group. And you talk about coming out and throwing down in front of the whole team, this whole expo area right now. If you look down past our finish line, it is all Cannondale. What a show of force for Larissa Connors.
So that elite lead group there coming through. 14:17 on the clock was their first lap, so well under 15 minutes, 14 minutes and 17 seconds. And this gap now, Larry, surprisingly large as we come to the second group here on course. Now we are going to see our Evelyn Dong there sitting on the wheel of your former Xterra world champion, Leslie Patterson, and there is Leah Davison sitting on the wheel of that second group. So we have 6 riders out front, then a big gap, 3 riders there, and then finally our 10th rider rounding out the top 10, just coming through there, Larry, in no man's land, trying to fight her way onto that back wheel.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you noticed that Evelyn Dong was in that group with Leah Davidson as they went by, and early strong lap, and it looks like now, is that Connors that's gone to the front? How about that?
Just turning the throttle right now. Actually won the opening round of the U.S. Cup, Kenda Cup West Series, I believe it is. That was either last weekend or the weekend before, so you know she's on good form. You know she's riding well this time of year. But man, I mean, you got a world champion there. You got former World Cup winners, Olympic medalists. That is a bold move here on lap number 2 to go to the front and start pushing the pace like that. I love it. I love the confidence. I love the fearlessness here in the elite women's field today. You don't get a bigger stage than this in North America. Bonelli Park, UCI C1 Racing. If you're going to make a name for yourself, if you're going to make a move, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, that is definitely the story of the afternoon. You expect that lead group of 5 to be built of Pendrell, Betty, Nash, Gould. But to see Larissa Connors up there, not only now dangling, but pushing the pace just a little bit. We saw the chasers, a couple of riders that we alluded to earlier on, Leah Davison and Evelyn Dong, a little bit further back in the group, chasing at about, I'm going to say it was about probably 40 seconds at the end of lap number 1. Although, think back to 2014 in the men's race. What did Jeff Kabush do all day long? Never on our radar screens. With about 2 laps to go on a hot day, perfect conditions for him, all of a sudden he throttled it up and took the win. So I don't think that Dong or Davison are necessarily out of contention yet. If they can find some legs here and come on strong while that front group battles against each other.
No, absolutely. When you see a group like this, it means 2 things. It means that a couple of these riders are holding back a little bit, and it means that a couple of these riders are really overextending to try and stay on this wheel. So I think you're going to see this group stay together just until you reach that boiling point, and then it is all going to blow. You've seen right now, though, it looks pretty evenly matched. We've seen 3-4 different riders taking turns with pulls at the front. So maybe it's just a case of on this course in this heat, playing a little bit of a limiter here. Everyone has those base miles in their legs. Everyone's strong, but maybe no one's quite fast enough yet with the snappy accelerations to try and separate themselves. Pendrell's been the main animator on the front here through this backside section. Emily Batty has been right there. Katarina has been right there. Chloe Woodruff riding very strong, and Georgia Gould. So right now, out of these 6, no clear favorite emerging, although Catherine Pendrell really likes to be in charge here on the front as they make their way down this very rutted out downhill. You mentioned the drought here over the last few months, Larry, and you've seen it better than anyone up there in Big Bear, all of Southern California, really, but so dusty, so rutted out. Again, it doesn't maybe look like your traditional technical course in terms of giant roots and logs and rocks, but it's a fine skill to be able to ride on this ball-bearing-like surface here in dry Southern California.
Yeah, and this helicopter shot not really doing it justice. A lot of these corners are off camber, fall away. So it is a lot looser and a little bit trickier than this spectacular. This looks like they're riding through the south of France, and they're just about ready to ride up into a wine vineyard somewhere. This is a suburban park. We're located about 40 miles as the crow flies from downtown Los Angeles. Every now and then you may catch that shot of the mountains high above us. Those are the San Gabriel Mountains with elevations as high as 11,000 feet. In a normal year, you'd be looking at snow up there, but not this year in Southern California.
Now, it looks to me there like Pendrell had just taken her first victim. I saw one rider starting to dangle off the back of that group on the climb. I'm not sure, we didn't get a glimpse of who it was, but everybody's struggling. I believe, yeah, so that may have been Larissa Connors after that early acceleration here on lap number 2, maybe now feeling the effects. So got the fitness to be up there, maybe not the racing tactics of some of these seasoned veterans on how to manage the efforts on this course. But like you said, anyone can go, anyone can come back here on a course like this. Yeah, it looks like she popped off just a little bit as we see Evelyn Dong here now with plate number 5, a very strong rider who comes faster every single lap. We've seen her turn negative splits at a number of these U.S. Cup, World Cup races, and on these steep climbs here on lap number 4, 5, 6, at least when she is on her A game, you're going to see her out of the saddle closing gaps down. But meanwhile, nobody is able to touch. There's a reason she's got the rainbow stripes on her jersey. That is the best rider in the world. That's not an exaggeration. That is a title that she won last September over in Europe, the world champion. As we see our national champion, Leah Davison, looks like she's taking a little slower approach here to the start of the season. It's so hard to manage, Larry, with these, these U.S. Cup races. They're so important, but we're sitting here in early March. Obviously, the World Championship's 5, 6, 7 months away, so it's hard sometimes to manage your efforts. What part of the year do you want to be well at? And all these riders really setting their own unique goals.
So it looks like they have just about, well, they're going to go out of sight, I think, one more time down there. And then they'll loop back towards us on the graph. And now we have a lead group of 3 as they are slowly whittling it down. And it's Catherine Pendrell, Emily Batty, and it looks to me to be Georgia Gould.
Yeah, and Pendrell there looking over her shoulder. You can see the energy in her cadence right now. She has turned it up that little bit. She is committed right now. She's not just looking around anymore. The throttle is down. The foot is pressed firmly on that accelerator, and she's trying to cause some damage right now. She's got 3 riders. That group that was 6 just moments ago has now really started to open up. We have 3 riders here on their own as they make their way through the main feed zone here down in the field. Riders are going to come through here on the completion of lap number 2, though. Still going to see 5 laps to go, Larry. 5 laps to go as our world champion leads us onto the pavement.
Well, this is that opportunity. We can get up and look them right in the eye. And they have shed, as you said, they've shed Larissa Connors, they've shed Katarina Nash, and they've shed Chloe Forsman. So your leaders now are Catherine Pendrell, Emily Batty, and Georgia Gould. And now here comes that chase group of 3. And Larissa Connors is absolutely aglow that she's still riding with these World Cup contenders. Now this will be Evelyn Dong hitting the pavement. She has now got herself up into 6th position as we look at her go through. And I'm going to say, if I do the math correctly, and maybe our officials will validate it, we're down to 5 laps remaining here this afternoon. So it's going to be a long, hard race. Here's rider number 6 now, wraps up her 2nd circuit of this race course. That'll be Erin Huck. But we are going right back to the front of the race course. And how about this reconsolidation? It looks like, it looks to me like
Katarina Nash.
Larissa Connors has done some hard work, and she's towed that group all the way back into contention.
Unbelievable. That was a 20-second gap as they came across the finish line. Riders now as they come onto the pavement. So that is a huge, I think what we just saw there was the riders in the front group. Everybody sat up, looked over their shoulder. Nobody wanted to bury themselves. Meanwhile, those chasers, they knew that that was their last opportunity. If they didn't make contact before they went into the woods, they probably would never see those lead riders again. So Katarina there still sort of dangling off the back there. But man, Larissa Connors on some crazy form right now. Reminds us of Evelyn Dong, who had a huge ride here last year. You know, the first race of the season, there's always that one rider who's been putting in their homework, who's made that jump, not just 1 level, but 2 or 3 levels. You know, I think back to the elite men's race at Mellow Johnny's last year, Payson McKelvin, this guy that everyone knew in Texas, but came out of nowhere, top 5, top 6 ride for him at the UCI C1 event there. So there's always that one rider that made that big jump over the winter, and that's definitely what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, we go a little, there's Carolyn Monet, cyclocross form. She's choosing to be very fast. She passed 3 riders, or 2 riders just running it, but the French national champion of cyclocross, former mountain bike champion, so she's got some great all-around skills as well. But certainly deeper into our field here this afternoon as the ladies are on lap number 3. You know, you were talking about Payson McKelvin a minute ago, and now we're talking about Larissa Connors at the front. How far can emotion carry them? I mean, is it a fitness thing? Is it a psychological thing? Is it just raw emotion? She seemed ecstatic. She was smiling and waving at us 5 minutes ago as she was chasing it 20 seconds down.
Yeah, no, for sure. Adrenaline is not to be underrated here, especially the first race of the year. I mean, that can't get you through a season, but on one day like this, when you find yourself in the front group, whereas other riders might be hesitating, you know, there's that mental element of, you know, I know I'm not on my top game right now. This race doesn't maybe matter as much to me as next weekend or the World Cup. Or for a rider like that, when you find yourself in this position, you have those extra legs, you have those extra wings that kind of carry you around there. Because, yeah, just that adrenaline boost of riding against these riders that really you've watched on TV here for a couple of years. I mean, it's a big, big deal to make that jump from top 20, top 15, top 10 to the lead group.
More of our riders go through, and it looks like Larissa Connors one more time has clawed her way to the front for Bike Rider Alliance. What a story potentially in the making, as Larissa Connors now has ridden
My God.
Chloe Woodruff off her wheel and Katarina Nash off her wheel, and she is part of this lead group of 4 now. It is Pendrell, followed by Batty, followed by Georgia Gould, followed by Larissa Connors.
I mean, Larry, yeah, you could not imagine a better start to the season here for not only Larissa, but for the Ride Biker Alliance, the program there that she's flying the flag for. We got Scott Tedrow here in the booth with us, going to tell us a little bit about, you know, maybe not to us, but for a lot of the people tuning in here, the mystery rider as she rides her way into this elite group.
Well, Larissa, believe it or not, is a full-time school teacher. And she's a very nice young lady. She works real hard. My wife went out with a ride a couple of months ago with her, and she came home and she said, Scott, we need to get Larissa in Ride Biker. She's the real deal. I could not drop this girl. So we started working with her about a month ago. Adam Pulford has been, our team trainer, has been training with her. And we've given her a little financial help, got her a bike and a kit, and I'm either a genius or she's just amazing, but she's one of the nicest people you'll meet. Let's hope she can manage her efforts here. She's what the Ride Biker Alliance is all about. It's about people struggling to try and follow their dream, and you join the Ride Bike Alliance, you get assistance, you get help, you get a website, and you get, this is what will happen. Anybody that joins, immediately you'll be in the top group of world-class course, guaranteed.
That's a great deal.
You heard it here.
And if you're looking maybe to get in on that program, you guys have a pretty cool giveaway right now, a chance to win a Cannondale race machine, maybe the Scalpel or that new hardtail they've got out there. Tell me about it. It's pretty simple, right? You just got to go sign up. It's a click or an email.
Yeah, it's free. Go to ridebiker.com. It's free. You join up. If there's a participating dealership in your area or a club team you see that you want to join, there's 20 club teams. You can join one of those club teams, or you can join on your own. You can be an individual. You can start a team. If you're a privateer racer, you can start your own team. We'll design kits for you. We'll help you find sponsors. You go out and make your own dream. And I think everybody's tired of asking for free stuff. I'm tired of people asking me for free stuff. Well, this is a way, if you want to chase your dream and you're serious, Ride Biker Alliance will help you and help you get the funds. Larissa's proof right here. I mean, look at this girl. This is unbelievable. This girl is a school teacher. She's been training for about 6 weeks. School teacher in Southern California.
So go ahead, guys. Make sure you get on there, ridebiker.com. You guys can sign up there, as well as the Facebook pages. I know, make sure Show Air Cycling Group, the Ride Biker Facebook page. Every like there, I believe, is another entry into that giveaway. So they're going to be giving away a bike here at every single round of the series this year. Some really cool stuff. And like Scott said, a great chance to sort of build this community, to grow mountain biking as a sport. You know, with these things like the World Cup on the horizon, it's really important that the U.S. community come together and really kind of unite as one and give us a little more power.
And with that, I want to bring in the guy responsible for us being able to give away bikes, responsible for us to have this incredible coverage, responsible for helping me get through a lot. So, Dave Manchester, Cannondale.
So as Dave Manchester joins us, you guys still following along here via that helicopter shot. It is still Pendrell, our world champion, on the front, pushing the pace at 3 riders, and then Connor's there just doing everything she can, working that Cannondale machine. I believe she's on the Scalpel today, but doing everything possible just to hang on to that group. Tell me about Cannondale's participation here. I mean, you can't look around this race, be it in the field or just on the venue here, without seeing the signature Cannondale green. Such a presence. What does this event mean to you guys?
Well, we share Scott's vision, and we want to bring mountain biking to a much higher level in the United States. And with Scott's vision, Scott and I get along famously, and with his commitment, we stepped up and said we're going along for the ride. And it's obvious from the turnout today, it's obvious from the spectators, everybody's having a blast.
What an amazing ride. You don't see her in this shot because she is only probably 5 or 6 seconds back. But if these ladies lay off just for a second, that's Pendrell, followed by Batty, followed by Gould, Olympian, school teacher.
I love it. We saw a quick shot there of Teal Stetson Lee just a moment ago. Former rider with the Luna Chicks squad. She's out there racing in the Scott 3 Rocks kit. She just took a new job working with Scott, so she's going to be racing and representing them on the business side. She's out of Reno, Nevada. An up-and-coming cycling scene, actually. Didn't think I would be saying that a few years ago, but an up-and-coming scene. The Cyclo-cross National Championships headed there in, I believe it's 2018.
Well, look who's made contact once again. She's grabbed herself a water bottle. And now for the 3rd consecutive lap. Holy cow. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your lead group out there, because it's Pendrell, Batty, Gould, and Larissa Connors.
Now it looks like this lead group, just like we saw last time, going to sit up here, take their bottles. We see Pendrell getting a little bit of fuel in her system, but everybody set up. And just look at the smile on her face. It's not us, Larry. She is more stoked than anybody. She is more stoked than anybody to be up there. Scott.
Well, you are not dreaming, Larissa Connors. As she went by, she said, I've dreamed about this. And you can just imagine, for as long as she has been racing at the Cat 1 level and then working her way, clawing her way through the pro level, to all of a sudden have it all come together in a day like this in Southern California. You got to wonder if she's got family here, maybe even some of her students are out there on the course cheering her on. And she is literally, I've dreamed about this, she screamed. And she is now living this dream. She is at the front of this race with 3 of the best riders anywhere on the planet.
So it's going to be a long race, but that also means that riders towards the back are going to be subject to that 80% rule, and they will be pulled. So I think we're going to see a pretty big number probably with this many laps. Like we said, something like 50-plus riders out there. I'd be surprised if we saw more than half of that finishing on that lead lap. And then, of course, our men must be getting out there. Men are scheduled for what, maybe 8 laps?
8 laps.
8 laps with the men. So, man, just, you know, you picture how many of these short 15-second punchy climbs are there out there, maybe 10 or 15. You multiply that by 7 or 8. You just think about getting out there. For those of you who do your own training, your own workouts, you know, just think about doing 80 by 30-second hill sprints flat out with no recovery in between. I mean, it's mind-boggling how hard a course like this, that, you know, you can ride it as easy as you want, but you can also ride it as hard as you want. And when you do, it is World Cup level. There's no other way
at
to
your
put it.
first race of the season, and by the time we see the men's field this afternoon with more than 100 strong and some pretty big names in it, former junior world champion Fumek, and I mean, we got some who's who. Fontana's here, Gutierrez is here, Ettinger's here, Woods, Kabush, Wells, Kabush. I mean, it just goes on, and it's going to be probably 90 degrees. So I hope those boys are sitting around somewhere with their legs up and their ice vests on. But look at that's Pendrell actually on the descent with Batty right behind her. They're dialing in their lines. Look how smooth they make it. It is a heck of a lot rougher.
Yeah, I mean, looking at those lap times, I'm really surprised that we didn't see a Katarina Nash take advantage of that slower time and be able to close. I think that shows you it's not just the lead group that's letting off a little bit. I think just everybody out here feeling the effects, and everybody's slowing down pretty equally across the board. So Katarina, I would have maybe thought she'd be up here. Leah Davison could have been up here. One rider that maybe I thought would maybe make the lead group today is Magali Rocher, the young rider for the Lunachick team. She had a great cyclocross season and really was poised to come into this mountain bike season as a serious contender. As we see here, one of the Live Giant riders running their way down. There's actually, I think they were given instructions that they were not allowed to deliberately run the A line here. Riders supposed to ride the B line. So I don't know, there could be penalties for that later on. It's a tricky situation whether you ran it on purpose or whether you were forced into a dismount, but riders encouraged to take that B line if they're not able to, just so they don't hold up other riders coming down behind trying to ride that section.
Well, we'll see where Larissa Connors is as you see a shot from our helicopter flying high above Frank G. Bonelli Regional County Park here, about 40 miles outside of downtown Los Angeles. Certainly a spectacular setting on a beautiful summer-esque day. Temperature here is going to get up near 90 degrees later on. I think conditions out on the course right now are probably low 80s. Humidity is also very low in Southern California today. Virtually no wind, so I guarantee they are baking on these hillsides. And no Larissa Connors in this helicopter shot. So one more time she's been gassed. Will she have what it takes to claw her way back? We'll know here shortly.
Yeah, and this has been that this has been that section of the course where Pendrell has done this angle lap, whether it was Connors, whether it was Nash. This is where she's been turning the screws, and she's good all around here. She's good on these longer climbs, a very light rider, probably the best pure climber in the field in this section here. As you can just kind of look down this hillside to your screen, follow those cones, dive down to the left, all the way down to the water there. It is a very long, very steep climb, and it's also very narrow and loose, so you find yourself right there on the edge of the saddle, and it's not just your legs that are fully engaged, but every muscle in your back and your abdomen and your arms and your neck. You're very tense just trying to stay on the track. So that's where we saw Georgia Gould make that big attack at the top as we get a look here, and then there we go. So all four still together. So clearly she has her own pacing strategy through this section. You got to know your own strengths and weaknesses, whereas some of the other riders maybe went a little over their limit trying to stay with Pendrell through those steep climbs. She's maybe making up the difference on those downhills where the others are getting bunched up. She's got the accordion effect working in her favor as she's able to shoot back into the back of this pack time and time again. You can see the heat taking its toll here on this section specifically where they come out of the single track. It widens out. You know, in years past in the women's race, the men's race, we've seen everybody come into that single file and then get out of the saddle, try and accelerate, sprint over the top, fight for positioning. Nobody here with the legs to get out of the saddle today, all the way from the lead group all the way back here into the field as we see Nash and Chloe Woodruff. They're still sitting in some really great position, top 5, but just as I say it, look at that. Just like lap number 1, it is Georgia Gould again, not out of the saddle, but finding that little acceleration, 5 seconds, 500 watts as she gets herself into the single track again. Looks like she wants to lead into this technical downhill section. Now, Larry, is that because you think she has the skill, the advantage here to try and ride away, or has she been getting maybe dropped a little bit? She wants to set her own pace, try and dictate what the others do.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of that, maybe tired of breathing dirt on these descents and figure, you know what, it is a dusty day, and you're inhaling that stuff all the time, and it's not a fun process. The dust gets in your eyes. So maybe she's thinking, let's try to get away here and at least lead these descents. And it looked like that acceleration definitely, once again, put some damage into the legs of Larissa Connors.
Looks like one of the riders here being taken off course now. Never like to see that, although on a track this technical, it is almost an inevitability. There will be riders who excel here, and there will be riders, I mean, from the low amateur ranks all the way up to the professionals. Like we said, this course is unique in that it is as hard as you make it. There's no speed limit out there. Some courses with the roots and the rocks, you know, no rider in the world can go faster than 12 miles an hour or 13 miles an hour. On a course like this, if you have the fitness, if you have the legs, you can really push as hard as you want out there, but any one of these corners is just waiting, those loose rocks, to take you down, take you out. We saw a bunch of riders yesterday, a little rusty. They haven't been on their mountain bikes. Barry Wicks, for example, going down hard, losing a lot of skin on the elbows and the knees as Georgia Gould now comes into another one of these very steep, very punchy climbs. It'll be interesting as the men get out here later if we see if they have that extra gear to maybe get out of the saddle and sprint over these. But as the heat continues to rise, I think we're going to see a direct correlation today between the rise of the temperature and the drop in the lap times. We went again 14:17, then 14:48, then 15:26. We'll wait as they finish lap number 4. But again, I would not be surprised if we're getting into the mid to high 15-minute range. This race is going to go a lot longer than maybe some of these women anticipated. We're going to get close to that 2-hour range.
Well, Connors looks good. I don't think any problem with her bike. She's just been gapped off by about 100 meters as they go by that big inflatable Cannondale lefty out on the infield of Bonelli Park.
So maybe just running some super low tire pressure there, because definitely you could see as she went over the logs that those tires were almost down to the rim.
And you riding yourself to the rivet. We'll see. She's going to go into a tech zone here just prior to the start-finish line. Actually, past the start line. We did a remote start earlier today, as you saw if you were watching the opening race more than an hour ago, actually right about 60 minutes ago. And here come our leaders up off the grass and onto the blacktop.
And again, it is Georgia Gould now on the front. We've seen the Luna Chicks all over the front of this race. One rider, though, I have not seen her nose in the wind all day, and that is Emily Batty, the tactician, riding right there. But again, now Connors, she will make contact. She's going to ride her way across the gap again, Larry. Again, she's going to come across and find her way onto those wheels. Emily Batty now reminiscent of maybe a Jeff Kabush, that rider. You'll see him in the front group. You almost forget he's there because you rarely see him on the front making moves. But when he does make a move, when Emily Batty does make a move, everybody better pay attention because you know she's been saving it up right now. Connors maybe going to try and shuffle in there, get positioned closer on. I think maybe that might be the strategy for her, is to try and get into the trail first or second so that she doesn't get gapped off from all 3 riders at once.
Well, there's your chase, Woodruff and Nash. But what does she say? I mean, what do you think? She said, "Hi, I'm here again," with that big grin on her face. Yeah, just watching Larissa Connors having the day of her life on a bicycle. And this angle, this perspective from the helicopter not doing justice to how steep that climb is. I'm going to say as they get closer to the top, it's probably 22%, something like that. If you're running multiple chain rings, you're definitely in the granny gear. It's a granny gear kind of climb. And Larissa Connors just is
Quick, somebody take my picture, quick.
showing total emotion up there. And it's a very happy ride as she's still riding with these amazing world-class riders, the soon-to-be math teacher from California wanting to buy a goat with her prize money today.
You know, maybe if I can fault her for anything, I think she's being a little too polite. You know, we almost saw her swing off there and just let these other riders come through. You know, doesn't want to get in the way, doesn't want to mess anything up, maybe isn't as confident in her technical skills, but I think you've got to put yourself in that position. You got to try and attack into the trail and set your own pace, because every single lap through this section, as Pendrell gets on the front on these climbs, we've seen her get gapped and have to fight back. Now, she's done it every single time, but that's a very tall order for 7 laps to ask her to keep coming back. At one point, one of these riders is going to turn those screws a little bit more and attack, and I think that's when we're finally going to see her left for dead, so to speak, and those chasers in Woodruff and Nash coming very hard from behind. So she's got to latch her way onto here and try and get the free ride, if you will, to try and ensure that she stays within that top 4.
On the other hand, it's smart tactic if she's maybe just given a little bit back on the descents, as we saw her go through that very technical step down, whatever it was, railroad ties across the trail. We thought maybe she was having a bike problem, soft tires, but it appeared she was just being super conservative and not wanting to crash, not wanting to injure herself or do something to her bike and cost her chances for a top finish. So right now on these climbs, she is definitely matching the tempo of right there, the world champion in the rainbow stripes, 2-time world champion, former World Cup overall winner, arguably one of the greatest riders of this modern time, Catherine Pendrell, leading the race with less than 3 laps to go here in Bonelli Park in beautiful, sunny, warm Southern California.
For those of you maybe just tuning in now, again, I'm Colt McElwain here with Larry Longo in the booth, and we are at the USA Cycling US Cup Bonelli Park, round number 1 of the US Cup and the US Pro XCT. This is it, guys. This is the biggest mountain bike series we have here in North America, and some of the top racers from around the world joining us this afternoon, a UCI C1 race. Now, what does that mean? That means big points on the line. Other than a World Cup and an HC event, which we will see later this month, the UCI C1 gives more prize money, more points than anything else there. Those points are used to earn your start position on the grid for races like this, World Cups, earn entry for not just yourself but your country into events like the World Championships and of course the Olympic Games coming up in just a couple of years. And you can't forget about the prize money, about $8,000 in cash US here, being split between the elite men and the elite women today, going 10 deep. Equal prize money too for not just the elite men and women but for the junior men and women as well. Elite prize money for that UCI category. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we talk a lot about the elite level competition here, the pros, how this is the place to be for the best riders around the world. But, you know, I know just personally, as a coach, I work with a lot of masters age athletes, a lot of younger guys who race in the Cat 1 field, and a lot of them actually making the trip out here, driving out from Utah, Arizona, making the trip out to Southern California just to get that head start on their training, get a little training camp in, test your racing legs, and then when your season opens up, maybe back in New England, back on the East Coast in April or May, you've got that advantage of already having a couple races in your legs. You have that 5% additional fitness that nobody else has because they're sitting in their basement riding the trainer right now, counting the snow as it builds up in front of their kitchen windows.
Well, we had a quick shot at Chloe Woodruff a little bit further back, and she was battling with Katarina Nash for that final spot in the top 5 points and in the top 5 prize money. Just out of this shot, the sensation of the day is Larissa Connors riding for Ride Biker Alliance, and she's maybe 5 seconds, 6, 7 seconds dangling off the group of 3 led by the reigning world champion. And you can tell that they're suffering. A couple of times I've seen Emily Batty up on the bike doing everything she possibly can to stretch that back out. So much all body strength required anymore in these World Cup level mountain bike races. It's not just their legs, it's not just their heart and their lungs. It is so demanding on their entire bodies. These steep climbs require amazing upper body strength and core strength as well. And it looks like now Emily Batty maybe turning a few screws in this race. It looks like she's ratcheting up the pace just a little bit, but Batty and Gould respond nicely.
All right, I'm going to throw a scenario at you, Larry. I just said with the heat, with the length of the race, that I don't think we'll see any attacks till later on. I think that's what everybody's thinking. Do you try and play spoiler? Do you try and catch them off guard and maybe go for something when they're not expecting it here with still halfway to go? Do you try and get your way off the front, or do you not want to end up in no man's land off the front like that with chasers working together on these long pavement stretches to potentially pull you back? What's the risk reward there?
The risk reward is that, you know, you can lose the race a heck of a lot easier than you can win the race. You can get out there and find yourself, I call it being in no man's land, and it is so much easier to be the hunter than the hunted. So I agree that I think they're going to tend to wait a little bit longer. They've got so much racing still to go. Well, literally, when we see them, there's going to be roughly another half an hour, 2 more of these 15-minute laps, and that's if they can. Oh, look how sketchy this little section is. Long, steep, downhill section, which requires just world-class handling skills. Well, it's Forsman who's got a lock on 5th place right now because Katarina Nash just came across. And let's look a little deeper. Rider number 38 is Alexis Skarda, 26-year-old American rider who is got herself up and riding with the 4-time Olympian Katarina Nash. So Skarda has had a super ride today, and she's right about 7th position as they went out of sight. We hear the helicopter hovering above us, meaning that we are just about done with lap number 5. Catherine Pendrell, Emily Batty, and Georgia Gould. 3-rider race now coming through this final feed zone on the course and tech zone. If any were to have any sort of mechanical issue or a softening tire, they have mechanics. They're going by that section of course right now. You'll see them move to their right and take on fresh water bottles. There was Dusty LeBar, who's actually Georgia Gould's husband, handing his chargers here in this course. Catherine Pendrell and Georgia water bottles, and here they are going by us with 2 laps to go, Colt.
2 laps to go, Larry, 2 laps to go. Now we are getting down to that business time. This is when we expect the attacks to start flying, if not this lap on the next, but somebody's got to make a move here somewhere. And now here comes Connors again as the leaders sit up. She is going to blast her way across this pavement home stretch, and she will make contact.
And I suspect we're going to wait. And once again, I think Larissa Connors is just a little bit too familiar with her brake levers here on these descents. The World Cuppers at speed, they make their living doing this, and they know how to ride their bikes. They go to downhill training camps, and then you see Larissa Connors clawing her way back from gaps that open up on the descent. The one person that's not quite in the picture yet is Chloe Woodruff.
And again, like I said, if there's a single flaw that I'm seeing, it's just a little too polite there. We see her there close the gap. She carries that speed. You better believe if that was Pendrell closing that gap, she would have gone right through and kept rolling to try and get herself into position, whereas Connors just very comfortable sitting on the wheels here of those riders. But I think if she wants a chance, she's got a great lock now on the top 5, even top 4. I think if she wants to take a swing at the podium, she has to start mixing it up, try and steal that wheel from Batty or Gould and get herself in the mix there so that when the attack does go, she's in a better position to counter.
Well, once again, a big descent, big gaps opening up, and then just that continued redundant effort that she has been putting out all day long to get back, get back, get back. The gap opens up. These girls are resting a little bit, and then Connors, all the effort in the world all day long on just about every one of these climbs, surges her way back, sometimes catches, sometimes almost catches on. But here shortly, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Chloe Woodruff. Ouch, you can see Georgia Gould struggling a little bit right there. But I wouldn't be at all surprised in the next shot from the helicopter to see Chloe Woodruff and Larissa Connors riding together. And that may help Larissa Connors maybe settle her down a little bit. Interesting, dynamic moment in this race because it looks like the one rider that we did not anticipate succumbing to the ratcheted up pace here with inside of 2 to go was Georgia Gould. But as you look at our leaders now, Georgia Gould is beginning to suffer out there with about a lap and a half left to go. And now you have 2 riders at the front. Clearly the world champion, Catherine Pendrell, followed by the Trek rider from Eastern Canada, Quebec, Canada, Emily Batty, and now Larissa Connors, with Georgia Gould faltering a little bit, and we'll have to see if maybe a mechanical issue, a flat tire or something is the issue. We get that camera shot here in a minute, but Gould now back to 4th with Woodruff coming.
Georgia Gould, one of the few riders that has not been down in Southern California or Arizona. She lives in Fort Collins, Colorado. They haven't had a terrible winter, but again, a rider who we've seen have trouble with the heat in the past. I think today maybe that's what you're seeing on a long race like this. It's just the heat wearing on her over the course of this last hour. We see her now just starting to drift a little bit. Connor's meanwhile been down here in Southern California, lives in this area. This heat is nothing new for her, but she's just, again, that adrenaline. She's riding on just a special pair of legs today that are carrying her through that adrenaline rush. But now we get down to two, the Canadian battle. We've seen this so many times, not just in Canada, North America, but even on the World Cup level, where we see this new young generation of Emily Batty trying to take that throne, trying to take the torch away from Catherine Pendrell. But right now the rainbow jersey is holding firm on her spot in the front of this race. She has been on the front almost all day, setting the pace, continues to be there, and her pressure continues to drive off the chasers behind.
But now it is Pendrell followed by Batty, and probably about 10 seconds further behind, Larissa Connors. There is Connors, I think, further down the climb, and it looks to me like Georgia Gould is just about ready to get back up to her. So they did go through a tech zone there a minute ago, and maybe she was experiencing some sort of a mechanical problem, maybe a flat tire, because she definitely dropped off the pace, and it looks like she is doing everything she can to get back to the leaders.
Yeah, I think Pendrell there maybe sensing Chloe Woodruff coming up on her there, wanting to maybe start to settle things down a little bit. I think maybe she was hoping that she could drop Batty, not her own teammate Georgia Gould, as she isolates herself now. But as we said, the team dynamic there, I don't think you would see Gould really helping set anything up for Pendrell or vice versa. But it is always nice to have a teammate there in the group when the fireworks start going off. But if we've seen anything, it's that you can come back, you can close a gap on this course. So Connors, there bobbles a little bit, like you said, Larry, a little too touchy there on the brakes this afternoon. But she's going to try and go with Gould. Again, those two now, as we see one lap to go, this is maybe where on the pavement section we finally see someone not sit up and take a drink and take a bite of their gel, but actually start to rev those engines and maybe light things up here as they lead into that final lap.
Talking about these ladies are going without a doubt faster. You saw Chloe Forsman or Chloe Woodruff a little while ago within about 15 or so seconds of the lead three as they came through with 2 laps to go, and now she's already fallen behind by probably about a minute, if not more than that. So up at the front, look at that. Catherine Pendrell at a Kamloops, British Columbia, the reigning world champion of mountain biking, is putting on a display, and it's only her fellow countrywoman, Emily Batty, who you just saw stretching out the back. She's definitely suffering, but she's still hanging on to that wheel, and what a difficult task, because we are only in March 13th, and this is a battle royale of 2 of the best in North America, not only in North America, but in the world as well.
We talked about earlier on in the race, just between these 2 riders. Pendrell, she's the diesel rider. She's the pure climber. Now, she does have some pretty deceivingly explosive power when we've seen her in short tracks and World Cups, but I think in a heads-up sprint, I think you give it to Batty maybe 7 out of 10 times. So as we go into this last lap here, I think Batty is probably pretty confident if she can hold that wheel that she could make that last move, she could make that last sprint through the field. I think Pendrell really feeling it more than anybody, that she has to turn the screws now, that she has to try and stretch things out and get this gap well before they come into the finish line. They're going to go through the feed zone here now on the final time. They're going to see 1 lap to go. They will get the bell as they hit the pavement. Everybody going to take 1 last bottle, 1 last gel, and get ready for 15 minutes or so of very excruciating pain here as the temperatures soar up towards 90 degrees. The wind, a little bit of a headwind here as they hit the home stretch. What are we going to see, Larry? Fireworks about to go down here at Bonelli Park.
Yeah, over an hour and 45 minutes this race is going to be, as here they are. And Catherine looks at Batty. Batty's going to some energy gel there. Big topped off bottles of water, but you can know for sure that these ladies are suffering. Lap time was 16:15. So it has been a race of attrition, and Larissa Connors is 1 lap away from a podium ride today. Ride Biker Alliance rider grinning as she has one more time on the climbs been able to get past Georgia Gould. What a story in the making with Catherine Pendrell and Emily Batty, because they have to be literally running on fumes with that engine light flickering on and still knowing they have to go around this circuit one more time. As we've alluded to earlier on, this section, of course, about a 22% pitch, and they are pushing with all their might and not going away just a little bit further back in that shot. It's Larissa Connors. What an amazing ride for Connors.
Here comes Connors, and here comes Gould again. But now look at this, Larry. That is a new cadence. That is a new gear shifted for Catherine Pendrell as she finally starts to accelerate over the top of this climb. We are seeing her now doing like we expected, going from a ways out here. But Batty, all she's got to do is hold that wheel. She's been so good lap after lap after lap after lap of sitting right there on the World Champions wheel, trying to make her nervous, trying to force that mistake. Only 18 riders left in the field today. Now this race, again, it's going to go long here. I think originally scheduled for 7 laps. The UCI did change it at the last minute to 8. I think the men's race, word is the men's race will be back to the original scheduled 7 laps. So a unique situation here where the men and women will race the same distance on the day. Pretty cool. Be able to compare some times across the board there as we get this helicopter shot. Some unbelievable footage here being brought to you today at the ShoWare Cycling Group event, the USA Cycling. And finally, Larry Longo, who is that on the front of the bike race?
Well, for the first time, at least in our camera shot, we have Emily Batty, the Trek rider out of Canada, who is now pushing hard on the pedals and trying to open up a gap on Pendrell. Slightly different pedaling cadences right there for Batty. A little lower gear and spinning like crazy. You can see how hard, how steep this hill is, but it is Batty now who is trying to do something to Pendrell. The world champion, though, not going anywhere as they'll begin this descent. And for the first time here this afternoon, we have a new race leader, and it is Emily Batty.
Interesting here to see Batty go to the front like this, and not a single attack, but just finally decide to come through and take the lead here and maybe try and put some pressure on Pendrell. But I would have thought that we would have seen her waiting there on the wheel. Although, just like I said that, look at her here now on the descent, just hands off the brakes, letting it fly as she makes her way down there. I think she's, yeah, this is an attack now on the downward slope. So she got herself into position and then attacked from the front off her wheel on the downhill. Batty, she's been out in Tucson all winter working on her skills with husband and coach Adam Morka. Clearly, she's got the fitness and now the style and the bike handling skills to ride away from not anybody, Larry, the world champion.
Well, she got a gap, and she got the gap on the descent, and you could tell that once that gap had opened up, she was going through gears and continues to do it. You are watching it live right now. There goes Batty, and she's holding probably about a 70-meter lead over the reigning world champion, caught maybe a little bit by surprise, Catherine Pendrell. But Pendrell, that diesel motor, just right as we speak, is beginning to churn out massive volumes of horsepower and trying to rein Batty in. But Batty got the gap. She's going to do everything she can to take these clean, fast lines, lay off the brakes, and precious seconds on the line.
Yeah, no, I mean, just talking to Scott Tedger off camera, I mean, how many times have we seen the 5 Luna chicks in a pack and Emily Batty there all by herself? The subject of the teamwork, the team tactics, finding herself always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Now look at her. She rides Katerina off the wheel. She rides Georgia off the wheel. Magali was not in there. Hannah, there's so many of those teammates out there. Emily all by herself. She withstood all the attacks one after the other until it was just her.
Right now, we are just seeing a shot of your race leader with probably about maybe 6-7 minutes worth of racing. They're about halfway around this final lap, a total of 7 laps. Temperature, we're sitting in the shade here on the main stage at the finish line, but it is probably about 85 degrees out there. It is warm. It is absolutely hot on their bodies. And right now, Emily Batty is about 5 minutes from taking this opening round victory here at Bonelli Park, U.S. Cup Racing presented by Cannondale. What a ride by Batty.
We just caught a quick shot of Connors there. We don't know. We believe she's still sitting in the bronze medal position, 3rd place. Unbelievable day for her if she can finish this off. But she's got Georgia Gould, the Olympic bronze medalist from London 2012, sitting either right in front of her or right behind her as we make our way up the back climb here. And I believe, so that's going to be Batty there. Pendrell, we'll see if we can get a chance to pan out or pan back a little bit, try and get that race for the last shot on the podium. But everybody now, as we expected, coming into this last lap, it's all blown apart. The gaps are starting to stretch, but so many opportunities to come back and so many opportunities to make a mistake here, especially when you're over the red line. The heat is this high. One little bobble can create a 10-15 second delay. Yeah, I'll be very excited to see the lap time on this one. We saw it go from 14:17 on lap number 1 all the way down to over 16 minutes, a full 2 minutes slower on lap number 6. But Batty has just lit this course on fire here on lap number 7, riding away from everybody. She's going to come across solo with plenty of time to celebrate. Cool that she's going to get to go through the pits and thank her team support staff that's in there for Trek Factory Racing, some of the best guys in the business. She's in there, and now Emily Batty, she is going to see a clean finish line ahead of her. Let's welcome her home. Bonelli Park, bib number 3 from Canada. Larry Longo, your champion, approaches.
What a ride. Come on, Bonelli Park. Bang those blades. Make some noise a little bit. Emily Batty will throw those hands in the air. Take one final look over her shoulder. Chloe Woodruff, ladies and gentlemen, 5th place. In 4th place, riding out of Silverado, California for Ride Biker Alliance, Larissa Connors. In 3rd place, riding out of Fort Collins, Colorado for Luna Pro Team, Georgia Gould. In 2nd place, out of Kamloops, British Columbia, also riding for the Luna Pro Team, the reigning world mountain bike champion, Catherine Pendrell. And the winner of round number 1 of U.S. Cup Racing, presented by Cannondale, rides out of Brooklyn, Ontario, Canada, riding for Trek Factory, Emily Batty. Congratulations, Emily Batty. There is your top 5. Emily Batty, Catherine Pendrell, Georgia Gould, Larissa Connors, and Chloe Woodruff. And now here is your heavyweight belt as the series leader after race number 1.